I am 26 years old and my fiancé is 28. We are planning to get married within the next year. While we were working on our wedding invitations, we ran into an issue. One of her friends, whom we will call Emily, has the worst boyfriend in the world. He is insanely rude, a complete misogynist, and basically a deadbeat. In the first year of our relationship, Emily would call us all the time complaining about him, whom we will call Rick, saying that he would stalk her at every bar and do a bunch of weird stuff. He almost seemed like an African wild dog, which hunt by wearing down their prey. Eventually, I guess he wore her out until they started dating. Anyway, during that time, I said a lot of things about Rick before they went out together, which has even caused Emily to exclude me from all events involving her friend group. It's never been confirmed, but I'm pretty sure it's because of my well-known hatred of Rick. Things came to a head when we were making the invitations. I said that absolutely Rick was not coming to our wedding and that I didn't care. This caused my fiancé to panic because she was worried about her friend group's dynamic. She told me that if Rick were to be excluded, Emily might not come at all, which could cause even more drama with her friends and might possibly ruin the wedding. For some context, everyone hates Rick, her friends do too, but they don't tell Emily that to her face. Rick was found to have compiled suggestive pictures of some of Emily's friends in a file on his phone. People have even gotten restraining orders against him. He humiliates Emily publicly for amusement and constantly argues with others in her friend group. He makes women uncomfortable, and my entire family is women, including my 2 daughters. The last thing I want is for my fiancé to feel uneasy at her own wedding, but I do not feel comfortable having Rick around. So Reddit, am I the asshole for not wanting Rick at my wedding? Adding a detail, her friends aren't the ones with restraining orders. And yes, the explicit pictures were nude photos he had collected via a local Reddit thread he made to obtain them from their exes. Also, I hadn't realized how it looked until someone pointed it out. He hunts by wearing down his prey. My apologies, I sincerely didn't mean for it to sound that way. Story 2. Recently, my brother-in-law, who is my husband's brother, decided not to bring his 9-year-old daughter, who is my husband's niece, to our wedding on the day of. We found out she wasn't going to be there at the last minute from my mother-in-law, who told us she had to stay in school. Keep in mind, she's 9, well-behaved, and the wedding was at the end of the school year. My husband was devastated because he adores his niece. My husband's sister-in-law, who is his brother's wife, also didn't show up for the ceremony. We were told about this a week before the wedding after we had been planning it for over a year. His mother supposedly made the decision because his sister-in-law had been having trouble sleeping with her new 7-month-old baby. We respected that if it was her wish. But we found it strange that it never came directly from her, especially since she's okay with asking my husband for things sometimes. One of my brother-in-laws helped my husband set up for our proposal, but when it was done, he just walked to the car without congratulating us, having any conversation, or making eye contact once we thanked him. The next time we saw his family, no one said a word to us and they just spoke amongst themselves. It was like we never got engaged. We were so confused and hurt. My husband was also upset at his bachelor party. His brother's family didn't speak to him, even after we paid for their part of the event. They also didn't say anything to him on the wedding day. They came to our house for photos, which was just a 1-minute walk from their house. Our wedding was local to avoid any issues. At the wedding, they refused to acknowledge me, and none of them wished us congratulations, even after the ceremony. I understand that weddings can be chaotic for couples, but ours was very small, and I stood next to them multiple times while my husband said a few things, but again, not a word until now. We didn't see much of his sister-in-law either at the wedding, and we didn't want to focus on it. I've known these people for over 10 years, and they aren't the best at conversations or small talk. Sometimes I get a hello muttered under their breath, and some small talk when I try. But they don't have any issues chatting amongst themselves, their wives, or each other. Nowadays, there's no hello or even a glance in my direction. We previously invited them to dinner, cooked, started conversations, been polite and civil, and gone to every family event his mother made us attend without any hesitation. So, am I the asshole if I don't go to their new baby's dedication we just got invited to this weekend? I don't want to not be there to support my husband's new niece, and I don't want to stop him from being in her life. It's not the kid's fault. But being around them is just so exhausting and painful. We will be at birthday parties if invited, of course, to avoid sending a really strong message that might show we don't care about the kid. But now his mother is pressuring us, asking if we're going to be there, and part of me wants to be petty for how they made us feel at our wedding. Story 3. I am the eldest of 5 children, raised by a single mother who placed all her expectations on me because I am the oldest daughter, and because that's just how things are in our culture. I was expected to help raise my siblings and be responsible. So I did. I learned life skills early, did well in school, and graduated with Latin honors. My brothers, especially the twins who are 24 years old, had a different experience. Clearly the favorites. My mom didn't expect much from them. She'd laugh off their bad behavior and even used her connections to get them out of doing certain things. They constantly bragged about cheating or paying others to do their schoolwork, and it was all treated like a joke. When it came to the family business, I stepped back because they seemed more invested. I chose to go to medical school instead, which has been financially tough, but also something my mom always dreamed of for the family. Despite being in medical school full-time, I am still the one she leans on when problems come up, even though they are the ones running the business. I help when I can, but I've told her repeatedly that they should be handling it. Then came Mother's Day. My mom was visiting me in Manila, so I planned a surprise in advance. I bought a cake, a gift, and a huge bouquet worth about $107, all paid up front. 2 of my brothers, Mark and John, were with me and agreed to chip in for the cake and gift, $13 each. Separately, I coordinated with my mom's boyfriend, who wanted to contribute too. After the surprise, he sent me $180 to cover the bouquet and also added a little extra as a thank you and to help me out with school. Because of this, I didn't follow up with my brothers for their share and considered it settled. But on actual Mother's Day, when she was back in the province with the boys, Mark called to ask if there was leftover money from the bouquet they could use for another gift. I told him the money had been given to me directly for the bouquet and to help me out, and if they wanted to get her something else, we could all chip in again. That's when he blew up, calling me selfish and saying I never should have asked them to contribute in the first place because I have more money. I was livid. I told him if he's broke, it's because he doesn't know how to handle money. I worked my ass off for 2 years before medical school to save money. They have nothing to show for their choices, but somehow always have money for gambling, vapes, and girlfriends, but not $13 for a gift for our mom. I told him they're failures because they've never taken anything seriously. No drive, no accountability, no goals. And that they'll run the family business into the ground. Now they're upset, saying I'm an ass for throwing all of this in their faces, and my mom says I was a bitch for not understanding their situation. I know their capabilities are limited due to their upbringing, but they're adults. Shouldn't they at least learn how to save money? Am I really being a bad sister? Story 4. My husband, who is 30 years old, and I, who am 34 years old, have 2 kids. Our son, who is 3 years old, and our niece, who is 17 years old, and we have custody of her. It's probably important to mention that our niece is related to my husband by blood and to me by marriage. Our son's birthday was this Wednesday, and our niece's birthday was the day after, on Thursday. Tomorrow, Saturday, we are hosting a birthday party for our son. While I was in the kitchen getting things ready, my husband came in and immediately started saying it was my fault that tomorrow no one was going to bring presents for our niece, and that it was going to make her feel left out and excluded. My husband's family is very small and not very close, but some family friends of his are coming. His mom even sent a present that we gave her to open on her birthday. Anyway, I was taken aback and pretty confused. I told him that this party was always meant just for our son, and that I assumed at the time that our niece wouldn't want a big party because she's very introverted and doesn't like being the center of attention. Our niece later confirmed that assumption. I asked her at the time what she'd want to do for her birthday, if she wanted friends over for a sleepover, a girls' dinner party, a movie marathon, anything she wanted. She said she just wanted to stay in and play games online with her friends. And that's what she did. We also took her out to eat at her chosen restaurant and got her a chocolate mousse cake and some gifts. I wanted to give her a nice birthday, as much as she would allow, considering she doesn't like people fussing over her. I told my husband all of this, and he still insisted that I should have made it a group party because now it's going to be awkward. When he ordered the cake, he told them to put all three of our names on it. My birthday is on Sunday. I told him I never said to do that. He argued that he didn't know it wasn't a joint birthday. I reminded him that the invitations were made over a month ago, and they clearly said it was a party for our son. He claims he never saw them, even though he literally saw them the day they got printed. He then had the nerve to say I needed to call the bakery in the morning to change the cake. I refused, telling him that was his task, and I'd already had to call this morning to try and change the order to a larger cake because he didn't get one big enough. He only mentioned that last night. When I called this morning, I could tell the lady wasn't happy about it, understandably, especially because he waited until Wednesday to place the order, so I was not going to call again, a second time to fix another mistake I didn't make. He kept trying to argue and I'd had enough. I told him to go away. By that point, I had spent 15 straight hours shopping, cleaning, and preparing for this party. Now I am starting to wonder if I made a mistake by not having a joint birthday celebration. So am I the asshole? Story 5. Am I the asshole for telling my daughter she needs to grow up and apologize to her sister? My late husband died when my oldest daughter Sophia was 9 and my youngest daughter Julie was 2. Julie has zero memories of her biological father. I started to date 4 years after his death and remarried 7 years later, so Sophia was 16 and Julie was 9 at that point. Sophia wanted nothing to do with my new husband, and looking back, she was kind of a jerk to him. My husband Jim never tried to force Sophia to see him as a father figure, but Julie did see him that way. She calls him Dad. Both girls have been to therapy. Sophia hated it, and I actually think it made the issues worse. Julie liked it, and it helped her get over never knowing her biological dad. That was the main issue between Sophia and Julie. Sophia thought Julie was abandoning her and replaying their biological dad. Julie made it very clear that Jim is her dad, and that her biological dad doesn't mean much to her since she doesn't remember him. There were many fights, and their relationship was strained. Therapy didn't help. They tried both individual and group therapy. Things got better when Sophia went off to college and they had some space. Julie, who is now 24, is getting married. She announced this during dinner last Saturday and asked Jim to give her away. Sophia did not take that well and started telling Julie she was a horrible daughter and that she was replacing their dad. The announcement was ruined, and Julie told Sophia not to come to the wedding. I pulled Sophia aside and told her she needed to apologize to her sister for her outburst, that she is way too old for this, and it is time for her to grow the heck up. That it's fine that she doesn't see Jim as her father, but she needs to get over it because her sister does. She was crying when I finished, told me it's my fault for getting remarried in the first place, and she hasn't contacted me since. I know she apologized to Julie, but she won't respond to any of my texts. Samish question being asked, here is one of my comments answering it. No, he never forced himself to be a father figure. Her biological dad stayed very much alive in her memory after my wedding. He wasn't hidden. He still got mentions in stories all the time. He was celebrated on his birthday and so on. No grave visiting because he is cremated and is on the fireplace. Story 6. Am I the asshole for skipping out on talking to my perpetually late sister-in-law, who kept me waiting for an hour plus? Hello, let me start by singing the virtues of my sister-in-law. She's a thoughtful, warm, caring, and genuinely lovely person. No one's perfect, though, and her weakness is that she's perpetually late. When she and her husband used to live near us, if we wanted to see them at noon, We'd pad it and say 11:30. She now lives across the country, and we've stayed close with occasional visits and monthly phone calls. A while back, we had a sick child, and she was such a great support, constantly checking in and just willing to listen and be empathetic. A few years ago, her marriage broke up due to circumstances entirely out of her control, and they had some complex situations with their young adult children. Anyway, I tried to do what she did for me, became a support for her during those difficult times. It's been a great relationship. Recently, I found out my elderly mother had cancer. My sister-in-law suggested we connect on the phone, and I thought this would be a good opportunity to update her on the news about my mom. I told her I was sometimes available to talk, and she said she'd get back to me by the end of the day. She didn't. After some more struggles to pick a time, she suggested Sunday at 4 o'clock and I agreed. Sunday at 4 o'clock rolls around, and she texts that she's running 20 minutes late. Not a shock. At 4:30, she texts that she's home, but has gotten involved in a conversation with her adult daughter who lives with her. They can talk anytime they want, so I am annoyed. 5 o'clock rolls around and nothing. At 5:05 I text her, let's try this another time. She writes back, I can call now. But I'm pretty annoyed by that point. I feel bent that she picked this time and shows no urgency even though I've been waiting for her for over an hour. I'm in no mood to talk and I text, some other time okay, and she texts back, okay sorry. My mom often says, if you take a cat home, don't be surprised when they meow. It's my mom's way of saying we have to accommodate people's nature, even their flaws, and I have generally bent to my sister-in-law's habitual lateness. So, am I the asshole for being mad this time? Or is it reasonable for me to set some boundaries? Story 7. Am I the asshole for not helping my friend with her schoolwork? Schoolwork as in college. My friend and I are 27 years old. I decided I wanted to go to nursing school, she decided she wanted to as well. We both work in healthcare already. We actually work together. My friend has a hard time grasping information with a lot of different things. For example, I recommend books to her like John Mars, and she'll tell me how she can't get into it because she doesn't understand what he's talking about. We're both going to the same school. I had to help her with every single step of the enrollment process. We were sent information on how to enroll, financial aid, schedule, etc. She wouldn't read any of the info. I had to tell her probably 10 times how our program is 2 years, and how that made sense. We were given a syllabus. These may be lousy examples, sorry. I don't mind giving an occasional helping hand. But I'm a mom to a baby, a wife, I work, and now school. I already have lots on my plate. Our classes started a few days ago. Our prerequisites are online. We have one class that's the same. She's already sent a screenshot asking if I completed the assignment which is due Tuesday. When I said yes, she said, okay, bet I'm coming over Saturday. I told her I wasn't going to be home. She then responded telling me how she doesn't understand the assignment at all. For context, the assignment is for computer class. Asking direct questions about your computer, like name 10 settings, take a screenshot, etc. I understand everyone's level of understanding is different, but I'm very worried. Nursing school is very hard. I'm not willing to let her copy my work. I can't be her teacher. But how do I go about this without coming off as an asshole, or am I the asshole for not wanting to help her? Okay, to be fair, I want to help out my friend, but I just literally cannot do my work and hers. I can't dumb everything down for her to understand like I have to do at work and during the enrollment process. I have a lot on my plate. I know it may sound mean to say dumbing it down for my friend. I do not think she's dumb, just has some learning difficulties. If this is all over the place, my apologies, my baby is teething and I'm exhausted. Edit, to those asking if she has learning disabilities. I don't think so, unless it's undiagnosed. She's the kind of person who blames anyone and everyone for not being able to understand. It's always someone else's fault. She always asked me during the enrollment process how I found things out. I asked questions. I read the info. She blamed everyone she talked to for not telling her the correct info. Update, things got really messy. She texted me again today about the computer assignment. She said now that we're working together tonight, you can help me with the computer. She said, I think I understand it but I'm not sure, this class is going to be the death of me. I tried to keep my response lighthearted and said, girl, message your teacher or use tutor.com, not to be a jerk but I can't be doing my schoolwork and helping you too. It's better for you to figure it out on your own, so that if it comes up later on in an exam, you won't be blindsided. She responded by saying, dang girl, I was just gonna ask you a question on how the assignment is supposed to look once I turn it in. I said I'd take a look. 'Cause I'm terrible at this, I know. She sent me it, and it was completely wrong. I told her you have to save the template, and type your answers on that. So I got to work, she pulled me aside to talk. She basically had a tantrum about what I said to her. She said you said not to be a jerk but guess what, you're being a bitch. Saying if she had already completed an assignment she would help me blah blah. I told her I was genuinely not trying to be a bitch, which is why I stated so beforehand. I told her this is what I mean, she's mad right now because I didn't want to help her. I explained how I have a lot on my plate with having a baby, school, work, etc. She said why would I message my teacher or use a tutor when my friend already completed the assignment. I told her I'm okay with giving an occasional helping hand, but I've been helping her a lot, and I don't want her to rely on me. I said we're very early into our schooling, and it's only going to get harder from here. I don't know, everyone, work is awkward as hell now. I'm not speaking to her unless she apologizes for calling me a bitch. I really can't believe it went this bad. Story 8. Am I the asshole for not congratulating my friends for becoming engaged? After my entire life fell apart from completely unrelated reasons to this story, I moved to a new city about a year and a half ago. I have since gotten back on my feet with a new job, lifestyle, and even found a group of friends that I used to hang out regularly with. We would cook dinners together, go to concerts, go out to bars, celebrate promotions, birthdays, and have fun together. I am an outsider to the group of friends. They all went to a local college in the city together, which I did not. But I felt like we all clicked. At New Year's, James had told me he would propose to Sarah, both in the friend group, at the end of the year before Christmas, and had asked me to be on standby for photos since I used to do photography as a side hustle and have a decent camera. I was excited for both of them and said absolutely. Fast forward some time, and since March the friend group had gone pretty much inactive. Plans to hang out together started falling through, and I wouldn't see any of the friends at the gym anymore. I figured they were all busy with work, I mean I was too, so I didn't think much of it. I'd occasionally text some of the friends individually, but that was it. A few days ago I get a text from one friend in the group, we will call Daniel, saying I am being childish for not congratulating James and Sarah for getting engaged. Confused, I open Instagram for the first time in months. I don't use social media anymore really, and I see they are engaged. But I see from their posts that they had a great party and celebration with everyone in the friend group. But me. Also, all the times I thought everyone was busy with work, I could see on their highlights they were out hiking, sailing, and doing other activities without me. Fast forward to today, and I get multiple texts from other people in the group describing me in a load of creative language, that I am essentially being a jerk for not congratulating James and Sarah, and also not giving them an engagement gift. It seems to me, I was removed unknowingly from this friend group a long time ago, but am just finding out. I also feel like they are using this as an excuse to justify removing me from the group. I see no reason to be congratulating two people for becoming engaged when they clearly do not want anything to do with me. Am I happy for them? Yeah, but that is not my business anymore. Am I the asshole? Story 9. I am 26 years old, and I rent a room in a 3-bedroom house with my boyfriend, who is 30 years old. Our other roommates are a 23-year-old woman and a 24-year-old man. The man, who we will call Mike, has lived here for the past 4 years, so all the bills are in his name. We all have a group chat, and Mike will text us the total amount owed and have us send him money through Venmo. My boyfriend and I moved in here since January, and the bills are usually around $100 to $120 each, split 4 ways. The bills cover electricity, water and sewage, and Wi-Fi. This month, Mike was gone for 2 weeks because he was at a military training camp. He also has a dog and asked our other roommate, Sarah, to take care of him while he was away. My boyfriend and I didn't even realize Mike had left or that he hadn't told us, so we thought nothing of it. Then Mike suddenly texts the group chat and says the bills are ridiculously high this month. Everyone owes $160.20. We asked to see all the receipts, but meanwhile, Mike was complaining about lights being left on or using the washing machine in the middle of the day. Yet, everyone was arguing about how it couldn't possibly be that much higher for each of us. After a few hours, he finally sent a screenshot showing the total amount for all the separate bills, but it was just the total at the bottom, no itemized list, just a zoomed-in picture of the total amount due. Sarah added up all the bills herself and came to a total of $548. Dividing that by 4 people equal about $137 each. So, we're all thinking, why is he telling us it's $160.20 each? Mike then texts back saying, every year for the last 5 years, I am gone for half the month, so I take off half the expenses, and whoever lives in the house pays the difference since you're all using the utilities. The difference between the 3 of you is why it's $160.20. And I'm thinking, and you weren't going to tell us. Were we just supposed to go along with this? He never said anything to us about this arrangement. Sarah, my boyfriend, and I all started asking each other if we knew about this, or if he had mentioned it before. Apparently, when Sarah first moved in, she mentioned something about it to him, but he never brought it up to me or my boyfriend. After all that, we agreed we needed to talk about this in person. Mike then texted saying, we can talk about it later, just pay $130 for now. That night, I heard him and Sarah whispering in the kitchen about it, and I went in later to ask about it. But he still didn't say anything to me about the extra charges or the arrangement. Story 10. I am 29 years old, and my name is Daunt. I am getting married to my partner, Ethel, who is 30 years old, and the planning process has been incredibly stressful. We are having a small wedding in Italy and a larger celebration back in our home country. Most of the stress has come from preparing for the home celebration and my family's involvement. I come from an African background, and family involvement in weddings is often very extensive. My mother took a very hands-on role, managing the guest list, clothing, and other details without much input from me or Ethel. Ethel is white, and this cultural gap didn't help. She found it hard to understand why things were being handled the way they were, and I found it hard to get my parents to take our preferences seriously. Eventually, tensions rose to the point where we paused planning the home celebration and focused on the wedding in Italy. We traveled to Italy, did our tasting, had trials, and enjoyed some time away. We even brought my parents along in hopes of easing the tension. Things were calmer, though not without issues. Back home, we tried mediation with a close friend and our pastor. My parents were reluctant at first but agreed. Unfortunately, it didn't go well. The discussion quickly turned accusatory. My mother and father said I was being controlling and ungrateful, and they felt excluded from the wedding. We tried to express how we were feeling, but the focus stayed on my behavior. The pastor encouraged better communication on both sides, but I left feeling dismissed and hurt. Not long after that, my mother messaged to say that, after thinking things through, she had decided to step back from planning the home celebration. It was painful to read. She didn't ask to talk to both me and Ethel, just me, and when I said wedding talks needed to include both of us, she refused. While she has continued to ask questions and act involved, there's never been any apology or ownership for how things played out. The current issue is more specific. While I was working, my mother met up with Ethel and showed her the dress she plans to wear to the wedding in Italy. It's off-white or cream, very close to the color Ethel is wearing. It's not a full bridal gown, but enough to raise eyebrows. Ethel felt awkward and brought it up with me. We didn't want to escalate anything, so I asked my sisters what they thought. One of them brushed it off, told me I was overreacting, and accused me of acting like a bridezilla. The other said the dress did look too white. Honestly, I don't think this is about the dress anymore. It's just another example of how any concern I raise is met with resistance, mockery, or total dismissal. So, am I the asshole for being upset and wanting to ask my mother to reconsider the dress, even if it might create some more tension? Story 11. Am I the asshole for not cooking breakfast for my niece and nephew? My 26-year-old brother's 24-year-old girlfriend moved into my house about 2 months ago with her two kids, a 7-year-old boy and a 4-year-old girl, after she ended a really bad relationship. I've always been an early-ish riser and like to get up and make myself some breakfast around 7 or 8 in the morning. Nothing spectacular, just whatever I felt like that day. When my brother's girlfriend moved in, I realized quickly that she liked to sleep in. Some days she was up as late as 1 in the afternoon. I gave her the benefit of the doubt since I knew how hard her breakup was for her. Since she slept so late daily, she wouldn't get up and take care of her kids. I got into a routine with my niece and nephew that basically, whatever I cooked myself for breakfast, I'd make enough for them as well until the other morning. I woke up and had an urge to make huevos rancheros. The kids immediately started complaining that they didn't want that and wanted something different. I was nice and ended up making them pancakes since it's not their fault that their mom is really struggling. The next morning I was making breakfast potatoes and eggs, but all I heard was, "We don't want that, we want something different." So again, I obliged. Finally, after 3 mornings of my unwanted food critics getting a separate meal, I finally told them, "I'm no longer cooking 2 different meals for breakfast. If you don't like what I'm making, go ask your mom to get up and do it." So they went upstairs to wake her up, but she still didn't come downstairs until after 1 in the afternoon. The kids immediately started complaining that I refused to feed them, and my sister was furious. She started in about how they need to be fed by a certain time, and a bunch of other things that she said to try and intentionally hurt me. I snapped and told her, "Look, I know you're depressed, but wake up and take care of your damn kids instead of expecting me to do it." She got quiet after that and is still giving me the cold shoulder, but I know she's expecting me to apologize. Sorry this was long-winded, but let me have it. Am I the asshole? Story 12. I attended Post Malone's Big Ass Tour concert at T-Mobile Arena in Seattle last night. The woman behind us thought she needed to stand and sing along to every song. The problem was she was tone deaf and couldn't sing a lick. She was basically screaming and yelling during every song. She did seem to know the words to all the songs, so I'll give her credit for that. I'm sure she's a top-notch shower singer, but tonight was definitely not her night. It was extremely painful, and she was ruining the experience for everyone within shouting distance. I finally turned around and explained to her that while I appreciated her enthusiastic effort to sing along, I actually paid to listen to Jelly Roll and Post Malone sing, not her. Maybe she could just sing along in her head. Well, as you can imagine, she didn't appreciate my constructive criticism and proceeded to lose her mind. I was told that she spent over $500 on her tickets, was a single mother of 3, and deserved to do whatever she wanted because tonight was her night. So I dropped the hammer and told her that she was 100% tone deaf, her voice was awful, and she needed to accept the fact that she just can't sing. While yelling the words in a monotone voice might be exhilarating and empowering, it was pure torture for the rest of us. I suggested that I really didn't want to ruin her fun, but she needs to be considerate of others. Maybe a muzzle next time. She could still enjoy the thrilling rush of belting out every song word for word, and save her neighbors the unrelenting agony. I know concerts are supposed to be a time to let your hair down and get a little rowdy, but this was just too much. I don't know, was I being a Karen? Even though I'm a guy, should I have just kept my mouth shut and endured in silence? Give me the truth. Am I the asshole? Story 13. Am I the asshole for moving out because I couldn't live with my dad anymore? Last year my mother unexpectedly died. My father hasn't worked in over 10 years. He's very my way or the highway, always fighting with everyone, and rarely spent time with us except to discipline. My mother did everything, worked, cleaned, cooked. My dad mostly sat around with his computer all day, watching YouTube and playing games. I have three brothers, one older, who is 25, and two younger, who are 18 and 16. The oldest finished college 2 years ago, is still unemployed, and blames companies for not hiring him. In reality, he doesn't want to work. He spends most of his days like our dad, on his laptop playing games and listening to podcasts. When my mother passed, my dad was totally disoriented. He didn't know how to cook or do laundry. My younger brothers and I got jobs during the summer. I worked at a supermarket while looking for jobs in my field. September came, and my dad told my older brother and me to move back to the capital, where we went to college, to find work. I ended up getting a job in my hometown in February and started living at home again. My dad asked me to help, so I paid half the rent for an apartment in the capital. But my dad got worse. He'd say I needed to be in bed by 9:30 and not see my friends during the week. I didn't listen, but I'd worry about being out late. Fights became more frequent because my dad is very stubborn and controlling. While helping my best friend and her brother look for a rental, it became clear I needed to move out too. We found a cheap 3-bedroom near my work. I told my older brother, and he was furious, calling me selfish, and saying this was the worst time to leave. I still offered to continue paying half the rent. I told my dad I was moving out, he laughed, said I'd fail, and compared me to the prodigal son. I asked if I could come back if things didn't work out. He said he wasn't sure. I hugged him goodbye, but he was cold. After moving out, I had a dentist appointment at the same time as my younger sibling. My grandpa, my dad's dad, gave me a ride. When my dad and brother arrived, my dad immediately got upset that I had used my grandpa. He told me I had no right to ask for help from my family because I abandoned them. He yelled, "What do you want from us?" My older brother also thinks I'm selfish. He talks to my younger siblings about it. One of them now believes it too, while the youngest is split in the middle. I still try to see them and reach out, but my older brother only ever messages me when it's time to send my half of the rent. An example of the message is, "Rent is amount." My dad hasn't spoken to me since I left. When I came by to get the rest of my things, he ignored me and wouldn't look me in the eye. I feel so much guilt. My friends say I did the right thing, but I still have a hard time believing it. I feel like it's all my fault that everything went wrong, and if I hadn't left, the family wouldn't have fallen apart. So, am I the asshole for moving out? Story 14. Throwaway because my brother and dad have Reddit accounts. I am a 25-year-old woman. I have a brother who is 36 and a sister-in-law who is 37, with 4 kids, an 8-year-old boy, a 5-year-old boy, a 3-year-old girl, and a 1.5-year-old girl. I am very involved in their lives. I babysit regularly, help with pickups, school stuff, sick days, family grocery shopping, and basically function as their go-to extra set of hands. The kids all call me Auntie or Lily, a nickname that stuck when the oldest couldn't pronounce my name as a baby. Lately, though, the younger two have started calling me Mama or Mama Lily sometimes. I always gently correct them, saying something like, "I'm Lily, sweetie, not Mama," every single time. I try to redirect them, but I don't scold them or make a huge deal out of it because they're babies, and I do take care of them a lot. When I told my brother and sister-in-law about it, they both said not to stress. They're fine with it, they know I'm not trying to take anyone's place, and they understand that little kids sometimes blur lines with caregivers, so I just kept gently correcting them and moved on. I have asked my sister-in-law multiple times about it, and she has always said something along the lines of "I'm happy they can have 2 moms," or, "If anyone else deserves to be called mom too, it's you." I still redirect, but not always depending on the situation. Then came the family barbecue. The 3-year-old ran up to me with a big hug and said, "Mama, I want juice." I did what I always do, I smiled and said, "I'm Auntie Lily, remember, Mom's over there." I said it totally casually, but my mom overheard and instantly flipped her lid. And I mean a full meltdown in front of everyone, yelling that I was confusing the children, crossing boundaries, trying to play mommy, and disrespecting the real parents. She said I should have nipped this in the bud, and accused me of trying to insert myself into a role that wasn't mine. I calmly told her that their actual parents were fine with it, and that I'd gently correct the kids almost every time, but she wasn't listening. What's frustrating is my brother stood there and said absolutely nothing. No defense, no "hey mom, chill," nothing. Eventually, I walked away with the 3-year-old, who was now very upset because she felt like she did something wrong. Now my mom is justifying her behavior by telling extended family that she always could tell I'm trying to replace their mother and calling me disrespectful, and that I always had too much of a hand in their family. I love those kids, and I do correct most of the time. I'm just not going to scream at a toddler over a slip-up. Also, I don't love what she's trying to imply because she's my brother's mother. So, am I the asshole for not shutting down my nephews, and niece for calling me mama, even though the parents said not to worry? Thanks for making it to the end of today's video. I'd really appreciate it if you'd consider liking or subscribing, but I hope you have a nice day either way.